You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to a special bonus episode of The Projection Booth. Here we have the rest of the interview with Larry Hankin. You can hear part of this over on our episode about the Phynx. This kind of spans a lot of the early days of Mr. Hankin's career, his work in the committee, his work in some of his early films, some television roles, etc. I hope you enjoy it. You've always seemed to have been a part of my TV and movie landscape, so you didn't originally go to school to be an actor. You were more into industrial design, is that right?
Bingo. Nobody's mentioned that. So there's a flashback. Yeah, at Syracuse University. Some people have been talking about my career, and so I've been reaching back lately and going, oh, yeah. I never really had any kind of aim. I would just wander around. Yeah, I went to college even just because my parents wanted me to go to college. I really never had any idea of what I wanted to be. I was just doing, this now. Oh, okay. I had friends who were actors in the acting department. So I'd go see their shows and I'd go, well, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. So I'd start hanging around that. So it was kind of just hanging around. I'd go from group. So I was doing industrial design because that was the only thing that I could think of that I could even want to do in a college, It turned out later when I graduated. And when I graduated, I still hadn't chosen either industrial design or acting or being on stage. I didn't know what. But luckily, I had befriended a guy named Carl Gottlieb, who was to later write Jaws, the movie. And he and I hung out together, and that was my friend. I had many adventures, but he was my friend. So we kind of bonded and said, hey, let's get an apartment together. It's kind of expensive. We'll go to New York. We'll live there because you want to be a writer. And I said, well, I'll just go. I'll go along. I'll get some kind of job. Don't worry about it. And I was, cleaning, sweeping up, one of those guys. When bars closed, I would be the lift up the duck boards and stuff, and that was my contribution to the rent. And he was writing stuff and actually stealing food for me. I mean, because when he was reviewing movies during the day, that was his gig. He got a writing job right away. But he was reviewing just any kind of movies you would never hear of again, or some of the big ones. But there was always one thing: they would always serve the reviewers a little wine and a little those frozen shrimp, that cold shrimp stuff. That was what they served, and he would have that like 3-4 times a week. They would be reviewing, and always the same little wine to, loosen everybody up, give them some food, the shrimp. So he would bring these shrimp back to me in these very nice napkins. They were always the white linen napkins. But he would just stick them in the pocket of his suit, for Hankin. Because, sweeping up at night was not a very cash-driven job. So, he was keeping me alive for a while. So it was kind of Carl that kind of guided me. And so at night, he would review movies at night. I would go to, it was Greenwich Village. We were in Greenwich Village. And so I would go to the Monday night open mics. And I would just sit there and, watch. It was cheap, and I could have a cup of coffee or maybe a beer. I don't think they served beer. It was coffee. But I would sit there and just watch, and, nobody bothered me. And I thought, wait a minute, I can do that. But in fact, I couldn't. I was very bad. But I somehow got away with it. Or I thought I was good. I don't know. But I've heard some of the recordings. No, they were very bad. But I kept doing it. I was, hey, man, I can do this. And I finally did get good at it. I guess that's the lesson. I just didn't care. I feel like I want to get up on the stage and talk about my day. That's what I did, basically. It turned out I was very hip. Now, I didn't know that because nobody's talking about their day. Everybody's talking about what was on the TV or the folk singing stuff. But I was just talking about, I was walking down the street and this happened to me. And finally it started coming together and I started to make a living at that. So kind of that's how I fell into it. No choices. It was, this is here and maybe I'll try this or I can do this. It was either let me try this or I can do this. It was that. But that's kind of how I fell into it, if you really want to know. What Carl and I are, and we were labeled this, and that's the question you just said. There's an official term for it, but we are original observers. It's like these guys, with the World War II, the D-Day today, There's very few survivors of D-Day, man. I mean, there's like 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 or 8. I mean, so those 7 or 8 guys, hey, what really happened? What happened? We see with the editing and the stories, but what happened? You were there. I started to get into Second City because of this stuff at night, where I was sitting with, watching all the open mics and getting a little better at it, and then I started to get so good that I was opening for like Woody Allen. Meanwhile, he's reviewing movies. He's doing what he's doing, and I'm just moving along. And it's not because I'm driven. It's just, okay, I can do this, and you're going to pay me. Okay, cool, great, because I don't know what I want to do, and it's nice hanging out with you people. You're cool people. So I did that, but then Woody started to get really famous. He was doing television shows and booked like I don't know, it was the Copacabana, but even whatever big nightclubs there was uptown, above 14th Street. That was the line. Woody had made it above 14th Street. That's all we knew from these open mic nights and the nightclubs that were below 14th Street. And so I go, hey, wait a minute, and I had his manager, but I said, put me on television. Hey, hey. And you go, no, Larry, you curse and you talk about marijuana, and that's a no-no. And back in them days, it was a big deal. It was a career. And the only 2 guys who were going through it were Richie Pryor and George Carlin. And talking about their day. That's what they were doing. And everybody was getting crazy. And Lenny Bruce was like elbowing his way into, hey, wait a minute, that's too far. That really is too far. Whatever it was just his day, man. He was talking about his wife and drugs, and they were driving him nuts. So I was getting that kind of blowback too, because I was talking about my day and marijuana and that stuff. So one day I was opening for the Laverne Spoonful, and because I was doing the rock and roll crowd is now letting comedians open for them instead of another local band, and I was touring with the Laverne Spoonful and the Blues Project and Ian and Sylvia and all kinds of stuff, and that was kind of cool, but I wasn't part of it. I was just there because I could do it, I was just talking about my day. Here's a fact that blows my mind. Because finally, what happened was the cops just dragged me off the stage of a Laverne Spoonful concert in Washington, D.C., in St. Louis, Missouri. And I go, wait a minute. Officers, I'm talking about my day. But you mentioned God, and and they were throwing stuff at me, and I called my manager, which was Woody's manager, and I go, hey, man, this is not me. I'm not Lenny Bruce. I don't do heavy drugs, I'm doing this because I can do it, but I don't know about this. What are these people into on both sides? So he goes, why don't you join Second City, man? They own the theater. So, you can do what you want. And if somebody because some guys were coming at me with beer bottles in their hand that were upside down saying, get off the stage, man. I go, why? It was a nightclub because we want to hear the Kingston Trio. I mean, rock and roll and the Kingston Trio just weren't. It was just like today. I mean, it was the sides were, because it wasn't television and digital. I mean, it was all, that would have been all over the news, I guess. I don't know. But people were dragged. I was dragged off the stage by the police, and a guy comes at me with a beer bottle, and I'm going, no, I don't. So I joined Second City, and why? Because I could do it. I don't know, because I wasn't with the times. That was the trick or the loophole. Is I wasn't with the times. I was just almost like a copycat. I was just saying, hey, look at that. I didn't know that was a giraffe. I just would say, hey, look at that. And it happened to be a cop beating somebody. But in other words, I wasn't making the big picture connection that the people I was, now I do. Oh, that's what they were talking about. So that was my problem, all through when people were, I didn't know why the cops were taking me off the stage. Believe me, I didn't think I was saying anything bad. I said, hey, no, religion is funny. Don't you get it? And they didn't. And I didn't understand. No, you're college students. I don't, okay, cool. All right, do something else. I joined Second City. And from there I became an actor. So, so the thing was, I was in Second City, and from Second City, but here's the hookup. Second City, we broke off even from Second City in Chicago. There's 7 of us. I came the last one. They just dragged me along. And I went to the committee. We invented the committee. They didn't just say, hey, come on, Hankin, come on. And we went to the committee. Okay, Carl was in the Army, but at that time. And I didn't want any part of whatever that was. But he came on his leave. He came to see the committee. And then he joined the committee when he got out of the Army. He was the guy who blacked out the scenes for a while. Yeah, total command of the improv. Blackout. No, not yet. Or, where's the blackout? Anyway, so that's how, again, we bonded. I was out on the stage, but he joined the company. He was really great, man. He was really funny. So again, he went down to L.A. and I stayed back in San Francisco with the committee and different companies. I was directing and stuff. And he went down and he became a Jaws. He wrote Jaws. Holy cow! So him and his wife told me, come on down. So I did, and I slept on their couch for a while. Meanwhile, one of my students, Gary Austin, in San Francisco, while me and Carl were, one of the things you had to do in San Francisco in the company, if you were in the show company, you had to teach at least one class a week. That was don't bother me. You got to, because, you're also looking for new people and stuff like that. So I dug it. And one of these guys was Gary Austin, and he was so far out and weird. And the company, I made a company and I put on shows with my class. And we would do like Monday nights at the committee. And we were cool. And then Gary and a couple of people went into the main show, and that was cool. But no matter what Gary came up with, Gary, who invented the groundlings. Later, when I was sleeping on the couch, Gary was inventing the groundling. When Carl said, come on down, Gary had gone down before me. I guess, I don't know. He was a student. I didn't know him from, her or him. It was just, Gary Austin, groundlings, that just blew my mind. Wow. Oh, wow, there you go. I taught somebody something. Maybe it went in somewhere, So Carl had nothing to do with the groundlings, nor did I, except kind of through Gary Austin. But hey, man, Gary Austin was his own guy. He just was out there and he plugged it in. And that's the tough part. I mean, being out there is one thing and plugging it in is another. But I don't know if he's still with them. I don't know, because I'm doing my thing. He's doing his thing. It's 2 different countries in L.A., on both sides of the hill, Anyway, that's the story of the groundlings, me and Carl, anyway.
You became an actor, but is that something else that you just kind of fell into?
I was in the committee, and while I was in the committee up in San Francisco, it was so close and so cheap at the time that a lot of kind of semi-demi famous people would come up to see us. So though we didn't know anybody, people in L.A. did know about us, like Carl, because he was on the stage at the time, and he was a funny guy. But me, but other people. So we started to lose people from the company, like the first people in the company, except me, because I liked what I was doing up there, and I didn't know about acting or anything like that. I was just improvising my head off, and it was cool, and it was nice, and I had friends, and okay, so, but everybody was leaving and going down there. They would go down there because people would come up to see us. It wasn't television or anything, no. They would come up and say, hey, there's people up there, and they're really funny. And one of those was a Penny Marshall, who came up to see the show. And then one day, I get a call from L.A. saying, hey, Penny Marshall saw you, and she wants to dance with you. She's got a part, it's a funny thing. I had a funny body. I was, one of those, like a mime thing, So I was loose, I guess, whatever. So she said, would you come down and do one of those? I go, yeah, sure, So I think the plane ride, I'm not kidding, the plane ride's like $15 or something. It was crazy. So yeah, there and back, maybe $30. I don't know. And I thought, oh, well, what the heck? Just to see what's going on with everybody who's moved down there. So I went and I did the show, and there was a whole other adventure down there with that because we were dancing too close. I mean, it was crazy. Her brother was the producer, and he's going, what's going on here? I said, we're rehearsing. There's a couch here. I'm a date. I'm bringing her to the prom. And so the whole point of the show, the episode, was that she had a date, and the date, either she didn't know how to dance or her date didn't know how to dance, and so they were rehearsing in the living room. So she wanted to make it funny. So did I, So she thought, okay, look, why don't you dip and drop me? That would be funny. And she was very physical, so she wouldn't hurt herself. I mean, she was like a clown. I mean, an acrobat. That's what it was, an acrobat. So she should drop me, and I said, no, okay. And then we tried to work it out, and that we couldn't do it right. So she said, okay, well, drop me on the couch. And then drop me that way, so at least my head or somewhere like that. Then that's funny. And then you can go on top of me, see? And because there was something right where I just said that, either drop me on the couch or then drop me on the couch and fall on top of me. When her brother said, who was the producer of the show and the writer of the show, he said, hey, what's going on? I go, no. And she jumped up. We both jumped up. What? He goes, what's going on? And he said, we're rehearsing thing. It's going to be on television. What are you talking about? He said, no, I don't want any of that stuff. I'm going, oh, man, what is this? So, and this is his sister. In other words, this is his sister. Now, not only is he an actress and he's a producer, but, there's so many things. So she said, oh, stop it. But he's saying, no, okay, none of that. So she immediately looked at me, shrugged the shoulders, and said, well, like he's the boss. Okay, fine, great, we'll change it. So we changed it. So that was the end of that. But to me, I thought, oh, man, I want to go home. But we did. It was one of the episodes. It was very funny. It had to be 2 or 3 scenes. Okay. And I just went home. Yeah, hopefully that night, but anyway, I went home. Okay, so then when I was sleeping on the couch, and she kicked me out, and I was surfing on other people's couches, I did get a call. Somebody said, hey, there's a call. Allison called me. There's somebody called for you. Call this number. And I called the number, and they said, did you do a thing for, with Penny Marshall with the thing? And I go, yeah, Laverne Shirley, yeah. Do you have an agent? No. You want one? Yeah. Okay, come on down. That was it. So I went down and said, yeah, and I said, how did you find out about me? Did you see the show? No, and the guy told me, he said, it was an agent. And I said, I'm friends with him today. And so he said, well, I poked my head in, or my partner did. Every once in a while, we go down to the production offices of the sitcoms, and we ask, anybody, interesting, come through here? Because do the casting, see? So we just said, yeah, and one of the secretaries said to him, yeah, this guy named Larry Hankin, he's very funny. Yeah, he was on the show last week. So he said, oh, you got his number? Yeah, and he called me. Well, he called Carl's number. That's what I gave them. And it seems that since Penny Marshall said it was okay, I guess I can do this. But no, I mean, I didn't know how to do everything. I, screw up every once in a while. I go up on my lines. I mean, then I became an actor, and that was a whole learning process. But I fell into it, and I found that, oh, this is interesting, so let me see if I can do this. So, okay. But it mystifies me to this day.
Was Lucifer's Women, was that your first leading role?
I knew you were going to, if you knew about the Phynx, or whatever, Phynx, whatever that was, yeah, you're going to talk about that. Lucifer's Women. It wasn't, when I did it, it wasn't that. It was Svengali. It was just called Svengali or Svengali's Women. And it was a soft-core porn movie. And all that I did, and one of the two, because I was in the committee at the time, the guy says, hey, how would you like to do a lead in a movie that I'm making right in the neighborhood, in San Francisco here, so you can do whenever, we'll shoot it according to your schedule with the committee and stuff. So I said, great, and that I didn't have to be in any porn shots, because what the script he had written was that Svengali was the method, the medium of hypnotizing the girls to go and soft porn with, the devil. Why the devil would need a go-between, or it was some evil guy who was reluctant. It was so funny. He was in the committee too, but he was playing the bad guy, or some ritual that he was doing with these women. He went off to do that. So I could get to just be in just acting, just lead role things. That was all I was doing, was interviewing women. That was my role, I think. They would come in, I would hypnotize them in a bar. I would say, come to the thing. I would talk to her in my office, and then boom, he would take over. Because by then I had, Svengali-ized them. But when I started to get in the dressing room, and they dressed me in the black coat and the black vest and the black suit and the black cape and the black sombrero hat or whatever, fedora, the black wide-brimmed fedora. But they started pasting on the black mustache and the black goatee beard, which was so fake. So I'm saying, no, I've got to hypnotize women back to my pad with this fake beard in a bar, dressed like that? Are you kidding? Nobody's going to believe me. I mean, not a girl in the bar or the girls in the audience. And then he's going, but it's soft core, and he wouldn't change it. I said, no. And even the makeup lady was going, well, but he said, no. So in every scene that I was in, I was just holding back some sort of, anyway. Okay, so that's, now, what is it? What's the name of the movie now? It's the Devil's Ladies, Women, somebody's Women?
Lucifer's Women, yeah.
Lucifer's Women. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I get a call from a guy, and he says, hi, I bought Svengali's Women, and I go, great. So we're changing it to Lucifer's Women. We're kind of re-editing it to make it into a horror thing. And we're going to go on a world tour. Would you like to go? And that's kind of the interlocutor. After the show, we'll have a Q&A. And I'm going, no, I don't think so. He said, would you like to see a cut? And I go, no, that was in my youth. We just do things in our youth that we just don't, I don't want to further bother anybody by losing $1 or whatever you're going to charge for it. So no, thank you. And that was the last I heard of it. And then somebody else mentioned it in an interview. They said, what about those? And then they thought, because, I guess I got to say, hey, I rented a porno, and it was a soft porno movie, and they had the original. They had a Svengali's Women with the soft core. But I don't know what soft core is. I mean, according to the movie that I was in, called Svengali's Women, I don't remember any kind of, because it's softcore, you can't really show different things. So I do remember watching the movie, but I don't remember any core at all. It was totally soft, I guess. But anyway, that's all I know about it, both copies are out there somewhere, but God knows where,
I guess Al Adamson maybe re-edited it too into something called Dr. Dracula.
Yeah, well, I was never interested in those movies. I don't need another adrenaline rush, I'm kind of like, so I'm not into the Dracula, Svengali, whatever. Oh, and then there was also a ritual devil thing in one of them. I remember that in the movie, the ritual ram's heads. The poor rams there's certain animals that get such a bad rep from humans, Rams have nothing to do. God, satyrs and stuff like that. Wow, animals, poor animals. Well, they'll all be gone soon, so we don't have to worry about them anymore.
What was your experience working with Don Siegel and Clint Eastwood on Escape from Alcatraz like?
Oh, that was great, man. That was, again, and maybe, Lord, I don't want to lose it, but, I never, the thing about be here now, I'm kind of, be there in a couple of minutes, maybe, but, give me like 2 weeks at least, or let me sleep on it. Because while I was there, now I look back on it and I go, that was so wonderful because I didn't know what was going on and they expected so much from me and got so much from me because I can see it on the screen, but I had no idea what I was doing. They would just tell me to do something and I would do it. But now I look at it and I go, no, there's a character there. I mean, I was doing what I was hired to do, and I seem to believe the character, so that's cool. But no, I would follow Don Siegel. There was 2 people who I could follow around, and I had to choose, and that was a very conscious decision because they wanted me, first of all, to cut off all my hair, and this was, late hippiedom, and so I had to get a crew cut, and then I was coming from L.A., and I remember this because it's an emotional memory that I was now an actor in L.A., making a living, having my hair long. Being an actor with whatever. I could keep my hair long and kind of be the kind of guy I wanted to be in L.A. with long hair. And then I get this role auditioning for Don Siegel. All of a sudden, I had to get a crew cut, I guess, because I remember I got to go back to San Francisco, where I haven't been for 2 years because now I'm a Hollywood actor, and I'm going to come back and live on the mainland in North Beach, because that's where the boats left to go to Alcatraz, which is where I live. So all my friends I'm going to have to see back at the, Vesuvio's bar. I have to go in there and talk to all of them with a crew cut. And the last time they saw me 2 years ago, my hair was really long, almost down to my shoulders. And I just couldn't deal with that. So thinking about Don Siegel and being in a movie with Clint Eastwood or a big Hollywood Alcatraz movie didn't enter my mind. I was just thinking I'm going to see my friends with a crew cut, a prison cut. And that's all, it's just going to be embarrassing. And girls I dated, oh man. So that's where I was at, and I'm, okay, so I get on the boat and then I go see them. And then I had to choose because now I was going to be hanging around with them for like at least 2 months. I knew I was going to just be sleeping and going because they only had one boat. You had to catch the boat. They had a fleet of boats because every day for at least a month and a half, they had to load convict, actors, but they had to load them on boats because you never knew when they're going to need a whole bunch of guys in the background. So always but they always left it. I think there was 2, like the 8 and the 9 o'clock boat to catch. And the actors always had to catch the early ones because if they needed you, they can't wait to call the mainland to get them on a boat and get out here. So you had to go in the morning and you come back late at night. So I had to choose who I was going to, kind of hang around with and try to learn stuff. So when I always watched Clint act, but I would follow Don Siegel around like a puppy dog, and he knew it. And he would treat me like that. I don't know. He would treat me like a young, stupid son. It's just, I would ask him questions, and he's, I don't know, Larry, I think I'm going to get fired for doing this. He would just look at me like, what are you asking me? Or he would tell me to do something, or I would tell Clint, I would say, like, when they had to jump, I think there was one scene where they were escaping and they had to jump over the roof. See, because what I am, I'm never an actor on the set. I'm Larry. I'm a guy off the street that they got to do this, who they think can do it. That's where I come from. That's my paradigm of life. Okay, I'm here with you guys now. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Okay, so Clint is going, he's got to jump over this long thing. They're escaping. They're on the roof. They're running along the roof. And then I think they have to jump across this thing and maybe climb down a pipe down. But there's a jump across. So they got a stunt guy. So Clint says to them, no, I think let me try it. So they go, okay. And he's talking to the stunt guy. So I'm looking over the edge, and Clint comes over to me and he goes, you think you can jump it? And I go, oh, yeah. Just like that. I mean, no, I don't even think, there's no joke about me not doing it. No, I'm just answering what some guy just said to me. Think you can do it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. So he goes, well, you want to try it? And then I go, what do you mean? He says, well, if you think you can jump it, why don't you try it? And I go, I bet you can. So now he's like, Clint is on you. Clint is on you. There's no backing. And all of a sudden people start to gather around. Oh, I see Clint is on this guy now. So I go, well, no, really, I think I can. And now you think I can. So he says, all right, what is it? So we're backing up, and now I'm going and I'm looking over and I'm looking across and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can. And he's going, well, you want to run and start? And I'm going, yeah, I think I need a running start. And so I'm trying to now just delay. I'm just trying to think of how I can get out in a funny way so his crew don't think ill of me. And just as I'm, backing up to kind of think of something funny to do, Don Siegel says, hey, what's going on here? And Clint goes, well, Larry's going to try to jump across. And he says, no, he's not. He says, if he, doesn't make it, we got to send to the mainland and get another guy. I need him in the next shot. So they're not even talking about me. They're talking about, they got to, it's going to hold up a whole shoot thing. I'm thinking, this guy, Don, I'm thinking, this guy's really great. He's really cool. He says, Larry, get away from there. He says, leave him alone. So now I'm totally on Don's side now. So for the rest of the shoot, I'd be following him around and thinking, he'd call me over and he'd say, Larry, get in the background of the shot. And this is we're on the tier. Clint is talking to the guard or somebody. So just get in the cell behind there. You're really kind of not in the shot. You're just in the background there. But I want somebody in the cell there. So just get in there. So I just get in the cell. And while they're setting up the camera and the lights and stuff for Clint and whoever, I run to the prop department and I go, give me a chess set, just so I'm doing something there, not just sitting a book. He says, well, I don't have a chess set. What about, he said, I don't have a checker set. What about a chess set? I said, I know, give me some. So he says, okay, here. And he just turns around and there it is, a chess easel here. So he gives me a whole bunch of things. I go into the cell, I just set it up and I'm sitting on my chair or what, I don't know. There's a little chair and a table plus the two bunks. So I'm sitting at the chair and the table and I set up thing and I'm just, so they go, okay, go. All right, camera ready, rolling, boom. And they go, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And Don Siegel goes, cut. Larry, come here. I go, fuck, man, and I'm going, well, now what did I do wrong, man? So I'm going over to him, what? And he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm playing checkers. He said, it's a chess set. I go, well, yeah, but my character doesn't know how to play chess, and the prop department only has a chess set. They didn't have a checker set. So I figured, what the hell? I'm in prison. I don't know how to play chess. I'll play checkers with a chess set. And he goes, okay. I said, I'll stop. He says, no, that's fine. I just want to know what the fuck you're doing. I said, fine, just go do it. I said, fine, thanks a lot. I mean, and he wasn't that rude. He was kind of nice about it. He said, no, I just wanted to, find out what you were doing. So, I mean, like, he would do that all the time. Or like, the one time he would even do it to the cast. Because what he was trying to tell me at the time was, he says, you think this is something? You should have been back in the 50s when there was, and then he would tell me there's something that was, totally ridiculous. Like, in the Escape from Alcatraz, there's a scene where we're going to escape, and he said, and Clint, this is the night that they're going to escape, so we're passing down the word. I don't know. I think the word is we're doing it tonight, or tonight's the night, or maybe something like it. Each guy goes, and the camera is panning along. So Don Siegel, and they have a movie house in Alcatraz to show the prisoners. So we're sitting in the movie house, and we're sitting in a row, and Don Siegel goes, okay, we're going to just do a quick pan now, like the army, along with the wounded in the beds in the hospital. The same thing I do. So he says, we're going to be just panning along now. You're going to be watching a movie. You're all watching the same movie. And I'm sitting next to Clint, and then there's all the rest of the guys. We're sitting in this row. And he goes, so we're just going to pan down. You're watching a movie. We're just watching the faces. And now the camera comes by you. You turn to the next guy. You say what you have to say. And we're just going to follow what you say down the line. Okay? Everybody goes, okay. So then he goes, okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to show a movie just so you're all watching the same movie. Okay? So we are going to be showing a movie on a screen. The lights are going to go a little dark, not dark enough. So you're all watching the same movie? Not going to throw anybody. No. Okay, let's get rolling. So he goes, okay, and roll it. The camera starts moving. He says, cue the movie, cue. And the movie starts and the camera starts. And it is the dirtiest, filthiest porny movie I have ever seen. And that's what they're showing on the screen. And Clint is, I can hear him to just kind of muffle a laugh, but the camera isn't to us yet. And you can see all the guys just kind of hold it and just be real serious as the camera moves on, and then it would just break up. And then, I would go real grim, and then he would go, and I'd pass it on, and he would pass it on. And then it would break up and not saying anything. And it goes, when we get to the end of the line, they shut off the camera, and he says, okay, moving on. So that's the scene you see in the movie. We're watching this porno movie. And so movies is magic, man. It all edits together. You don't see any of that stuff. You just see this ugly stuff. And that's all I see. It's the other stuff. I don't see them making a movie and, wow, this is going to be a tentpole event. I go, oh, so this is what, da-da-da. And Clint is kind of the same way, because he would hang out with the extras. He'd eat with the extras, or he'd pump iron. That's what he'd do. And the guy who played the warden, that he's a famous actor. He would never come out of his Winnebago. He would only come out if an AD would go get him to get on the set. He never talked to anybody at all. He would just stay in his thing and come out, and he'd act, and then he'd go back in. But when he acted, he was really kind of cool. I would just watch him. And so everybody does it different. A lot of actors like to hang out, some, whatever. So yeah, I kind of hung out with him. He kept on saying to me, Don, like, I don't know. He kept on, and kindly, and sometimes he would explain something, but not really. The thing like Don was, finally I got to him. I guess he got to me. But how close how nice he was to me in a very tough love way. When you go out in the morning, if your shot wasn't until the afternoon, it would mean that I have to hang around on the island of Alcatraz in there all day long. So generally, there was a lot of crew members who did the same thing. So we'd play a lot of cards and dominoes. That was like a big thing. So I was playing cards one time, and I'm playing cards. We're sitting around. I'm sitting on a milk crate or something, or an apple box or something, or we're all just sitting around some improvised table. We're just playing cards for like a penny or not even that. And they all stop and they look up and there's somebody behind me. So I look up and it's Don Siegel. And I don't know how long he's standing there. And he looks down at me and he goes, hey, Larry, what are you doing? I go, playing cards, man. I'm not up until like 2 p.m. or something. He goes, there's a scene where you're locked in your cell. I go, yeah, it's right before the breakup. I go, yeah. He goes, you're going to cry in that scene. I go, well, I never even thought about it, frankly. But I go, well, yeah, I think I know. He says, so how do you feel about that? You gonna cry, or what's the deal there? I go, I don't know. I really haven't thought about it. He says, well, I think you better think about it. He said, well, and I said to him, well, I don't know. Maybe I can't cry. Maybe I won't cry. So he goes, I need you to cry. So what I think you should do is maybe you should not play cards, maybe go back into your dressing room and, slap yourself around or something, but I need you to cry. So I go, well, okay. So I turn around. So then he walks away. So I need you to cry. Okay. So I put down my cards and I say to the guys, okay, I'm out. I guess I'm going to have to, go back to my dressing room and cry. So I go back to where they had me installed as a dressing room, and I'm thinking, I can't cry. I'm not an actor. I don't do this. I'm a convict. That's all I know. I'm Charlie Butts. I'm not getting paid to cry. And I'm starting to freak. And so I actually slapped myself a couple of times. And I went, no, this is not going to work. I said, okay, I'm going to get fired. And I knew that they do fire me because about a week before, a guy had been fired. So I knew that happens. So now that was in my head. So now I'm going, okay. So I'm really trying every kind of thing, and it's not happening. So I start to get into a mindset I'm going to be fired. Okay. So at least I'm prepared for that, and I won't freak out when it happens, because I can't fucking cry. And then I think, no, wait a minute. I'm an actor. Supposedly I'm an actor. He understands backstory. I can silver tongue my way out of this one. So I go back out. Now this is, I don't know, an hour or two goes by. He goes, I'm looking for the director. You ever seen the director? Yeah, he's right over there. So I go, hey, Don, can I talk to you? I don't know, I'd probably say Mr. Siegel. Mr. Siegel, I could talk to you for a second. He goes, oh, sure, yeah, what do you want? He steps aside. He goes, I said, well, see, look, in this scene, I have a backstory of the character of Charlie Butts, and in the backstory, see, and I've been working on this for a while, so I don't think that, see, in that situation, I don't think my character would cry. And he looks at me, and then he turns to his assistant, Carol, a woman about 27, I guess. He says, Carol, would you come over here for a second? He's very serious. He says, Carol, I want you to come over here for a second. I want you to listen to Larry. Larry, would you please tell Carol what you just told me? Now, she doesn't know. She's looking at him and looking at me like, what's going on here? I'm looking at her and looking at, I don't know what's going on. He said, Larry, just tell Carol what you just told me. So I just tell her what I told him. I got this backstory and I wouldn't cry and blah, blah, blah. So I finished. And so in that instance, I don't think my character would cry in this particular scene. So she looks at him like with this question, and he looks at her and he says, now, Carol, would you please tell me what the fuck he's talking about? And then he turns to me and he goes, look, Larry, I got this big, long movie full of men, and he draws his arc in this circle in the sky. It's actually we're in Alcatraz. He draws a circle in the ceiling of Alcatraz, and he says, and about 3/4 of the way through the circle in the sky there, he points to a point there, and 3/4 here, he says, you see right here, this is all testosterone, this whole arc is all testosterone. So I need some other kind of emotion here. So I figure, okay, how about if I have somebody cry here? And you know who's right there? You know whose scene that is, Larry? That's your scene. So you got an hour and a half, and I need you to cry. Okay, is that cool with you, Carol? And she says, yeah, it's cool with me. And he walks away, and they walk away, and they just leave me. So now I got to go back to the thing, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? So I try my damnedest. And I think I'm going to be fired right in front of everybody now. So I go on to the set, finally I just sit in my dressing room. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just sit there and just wait. I think I read something. I don't know. And then the AD comes, he says, "You're up." And I go back there and he goes, "Oh, you ready, Larry?" And I go, yeah, I'm ready. And he says, "Okay." And he sits me down on my little bunk there. And he says, "Okay, this is going to be a close-up." And he moves the camera about, and you look at the shot. The camera is about, I don't know, maybe 6 inches from my face, this big Araflex camera, whatever they were using. And he goes, "You ready to cry, Larry?" And I go, yeah, I am. And he goes, "Okay, ready, everybody," in the lights, and we're looking around, everybody's. And he goes, "Okay, action," and Larry, cry. And I'm going, no. I can't, man. I just is not that. I'm not even trying. I mean, it's obvious. He goes, "Okay, cut." George, and George, this other crew member, comes in with this perfume bottle, and I go, "What's that?" And he says, "It's wintergreen," and he sprays this sprayer into my face, and then somebody comes and pats my cheeks, and he goes, "Okay, roll it," and they just go, and he says, "Go, Larry," and these tears come streaming down my face, and he goes, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut. "Larry, thank you, that was great, thank you, moving on," and that was it. So for like, what, 5 hours he put me on? 5 hours. Come on, man. I thought, wow, he must really like me. That's all I could think of. To spend that much energy. I thought, wow, thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, I just love the guy, man. He was the best. You know, he would tell me these old time stories of the people fighting on the set, and they always knew their lines. That was the one thing that he always told me. They always knew their lines. And I have such trouble with my lines. You know, I'm always blowing lines, and I feel so guilty about it, you know. Because I'm just this guy, man, who, you know, okay, you can do it. I can? All right, fine, you know. It's like my uncle. My uncle he installed oil burners. And one day he said, "I need an assistant." And my aunt, his wife, said, "Well, why don't you use Larry?" He said, "All right, Larry, get in the truck. We're going to install oil burners." So all day I installed oil burners. I hated it. It's greasy. But I could do it. You know, he'd say, "Give me, number 5, wrench or whatever. Give me an ollie." Or give me and I would say, "Oh, yeah, okay, here." And he would say, "Man, you're going to go out. I mean, you can go out with me every day." And I, no, please. I would beg my aunt, "Don't make him go. Don't make me go." You know, so he finally stopped because it was just nagged the whole, oh man. It's just, he was trying to teach me instead of letting me sneak up on it. "Hey, what are you doing there, man?" Oh, so, like, Mark Twain and Peyton the Fence, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. He was the man, Huckleberry Finn, yeah. That's that guy. That's how I learned, you know. And it took me a long time to figure that out, that no, it's better off just leave me alone here. If I need to learn this and you need me to learn it, okay, but they don't teach that in school. It's called eidetic. I think it's called eidetic. It's how animals learn. Tiger doesn't teach their cubs. Yeah. "Hey, all right, now go for the neck. See, this is the neck, and spell that. N-E-C-K. Okay, you got that? All right." But until you're this big, I learned like cats learn and shit. It's weird. Anyway, hey man, I gotta go. Can I go soon?
Yeah, that's fine. Would you mind if we talked a little bit more? I'd love to ask you sometime about Sometimes Jones and some of your solo projects.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Because okay, yeah, no, I don't want to go because I got to talk about that because that's what I'm doing right now. You are so current right now. This happened last night. You're the first to get this news. This is breaking news right here now. It's kind of iffy, but in my situation, it's always breaking news.
Where did the character of Sometimes Jones and Sally's Diner come from?
Here's the deal. Let me see which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's kind of what you just asked me, and that's a seminal question. You asked me a seminal question. So there I was this before or after? So that was after. Okay. So the first thing that came was I lived in my car in San Francisco for a year. So I was homeless for a year in San Francisco, living in my car in North Beach and the environs. So that came first. And then I was in the committee and blah, 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 but somewhere in there for a year. Then I go down to L.A. and blah, blah, blah. But then I became a, starving actor, paying your rent, but, making and going to auditions and all of that. But the cheapest place I could find was in Hollywood and Western Avenue. Western and Hollywood. Now that at that time was a dive kind of inner urban kind of thing. If you were living downtown, you would be an inner urban survivalist kind of person. So that's where I lived. And here's the weirdness of it, and the yin and the yang. I had a really old car. You had to have a car in L.A., and I had the oldest car that, I was afraid it was a transportation vehicle. And I was always afraid it would break down or something would break on it. So that was in the neighborhood. And you had in LA, you have to, drive around the block. I guess in every city now, you have to drive around the block a couple of times to park it. And I remember, so this was a seedy neighborhood. And I remember I was getting undressed to go to bed, or I was in my pajamas or whatever, in this small little apartment, and this walk up on the block there. It was somebody, I think it was like 2 stories or 3 stories. You can't build any higher or whatever. So I said, I forgot to lock my car. Not that I had anything important in it, but maybe they were going to steal the car. I got to go down. You got to go down here and lock your car. And I was in my pajamas, I remember. So I went through this whole thing of putting, pants over the pajamas and then putting on shoes. And oh, man, it was a little warm. And okay, I go downstairs. And I see, as I'm locking my car, I see this little old lady walking her little old dog in the street, and it's now like 2 a.m. or something, and I'm saying to myself, and she just says, well, not afraid of me or anything. And I'm a big guy. I'm thinking, you should be afraid of me, lady. But no, you're not. Wow, good for you. Wow, cool. And I even, gave way a little. So that bothered me. I said, what the hell is a little old lady walking a little old dog with total aplomb? And I started to ask around over the next couple of days, hey, I'm in my neighborhood, I saw 2 a.m. and this little old lady, and she didn't give about anything, And they go, oh, you live in the safe zone. For what? She says, man, all the hookers, all the pickpockets, all those guys, the, purse snatchers, breaking the cars. Yeah. It's the block they live on. She said, you couldn't commit a crime there. She said, don't try it. It's bad news. I felt weird, man, and that's why I hear these knocking on in the next door neighbor. It's the hookers had these apartments where the hookers were doing their business. It's like, holy cow, and I never knew it. And that's how, until somebody told me. Anyway, that led to me being a year on the streets in San Francisco, and then me living in that neighborhood in Hollywood and Western. There was a diner I used to eat at right around the corner from where I lived on Hollywood, right off of Hollywood, Gramercy. I lived on Gramercy. Western is the main street, so it's Hollywood and Western, and he lived between Hollywood and Gramercy. Was far out that I can even remember that. So I would eat there, and he was starving. Solly was his name, actually, and he was from Oklahoma, and he had bought this restaurant, and he was there for like 2 or 3 years, and he was just making it, man. It was just so sorry. He's an older guy. He bought it figuring he'd buy a restaurant in Hollywood and make his nut to retire and go back to Oklahoma. And it wasn't happening. It was so sad. So that's why I remember him. And so one day, Anna, a friend of mine, actress friend of mine, who's married to a camera operator, came to me and said, my husband needs a reel. So why don't you write a little movie, 10-minute movie, 20-minute movie, and he'll be the cinematographer, just so we can get an upgrade. So, and he'll help you. And they can use his crew because he knows, because he's an operator. So why don't you do that? So I spoke to Harry, was his name. And I said, Harry, you want to do this? He said, yeah, that would be really great. So then I said, well, how much is it going to? So I wrote something, and it was 20 minutes long, and he goes, no, it's too long. We don't want to hang around that long. I got to ask these guys to do it for free. So cut it in half. And I didn't even know how to write. So I cut it in half. I handed it to him. And, it's like, but in the book that I read on how to write, it says, you got to kill your babies. That's how to write. Editing. So I did that. So he says, yeah, okay, it's 10 minutes long. He didn't care. So everybody was giving me a little thing. He wanted it 10 minutes. That was all. He wanted his reel. That was all he was interested in, which I found is everybody. Okay, anyway, so I did that. So then I said, well, how much is it going to cost? So he said, well, I'm going to call in a lot of favors. So he was connected. He was really good. So he was connected. But, he really wanted this. So that was another thing. He really wanted it. Well, for him, he wanted the reel. So he said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. But it's going to cost you $5,000. You need to get $5,000. So that took me 6 months. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money. So I worked and auditioned, but now I had a reason to. So I kind of had a reason to audition because I really hated, and still to this day, I can do it a lot better, but then it was really hard for me. So it's like begging. I call it begging. I still to this day, I got to beg today. I'm going out to the valley to beg. So, okay, I worked, and I finally saved up, and I'm in the drawer, I have cash get there. And I handed, and so I went over to his house, because we all lived in the same kind of area, I guess. And so I went over to his house. I knocked on the door. 6 o'clock. I remember this definitely because his wife, Anna, came to the door. And she said, oh, hi, Larry. What do you want? I said, we're eating now. We're in the middle of a meal. So I said, oh, I just want to talk to Harry. She said, no, you can't. And that's why I remember it. I said, no, you can't. And I had the $5,000 in cash in a brown paper bag that I was going to give to him. So I said, well, I really have to talk to him. And she said he's eating dinner and he doesn't want to be disturbed. I don't know what kind of household she was running at the time, but it was kind of weird, but that was the rule. I mean, she laid it down. And so I said, no, just give me 5 seconds, because it was a surprise to me. I had, 6 months of hard-earned, I wanted to hand it to him. So she said, all right, but, just be quick. And she led me into the kitchen, and there he was. He was right in the middle of eating something with peas. And he said, here. And I said, thank you, Anna. And I said, go for it to him. And I just got out of there thinking, I was a fan and still am of the Beau jest. What I wanted to do is I just want to shove it in his hand without saying anything and leave and say, your bluff is called, MF, and just get out of it. That's what I wanted to do. That was, she was kind of interfering. But anyway, I got out of there, and he called me the next day, or maybe in a couple of hours even, I don't know. But he said, okay, get your actors and actresses and start rehearsing. We're going to do it in 2 weeks. I guess, so there was a lag time. Yeah, so he probably called me in about 2 or 3 days, getting his crew ready. He said, hey, man, we got the money. Let's do this thing. And he, blah, blah, blah. So he called me, said, you've got 2 weeks. We got a shoot date. So he started the shoot date. He called a friend who could produce it. In other words, I had to come up with the $5,000. And Harry said he could do it for $5,000. That's a lie. They don't lie. You lie for your bliss, though. That's the only time you can lie. That's the only time. They all got everything together. I got my actors, my actresses, my actor, my actress. And we rehearsed, and then he said, well, we need an actor, a director. And that's going to cost. And Harry said, no, you direct. And I said, no, I can't direct. And he said, yes, you can. I'll help you. Now, I thought that was really cool. I'll be protected, and that was really nice of him. Bullshit. Nobody does that. He was protecting his reel. That's why he said that. Yeah. Took me years to figure that one out. But anyway, cool. Because I would argue with him, and finally I would have to give in. And thank God that I did. Just thank God that I did. Anyway, but that took me years to come to that conclusion, watching the movie. Yeah. Okay, so I said, yes, I would. And we argued and blah, blah, blah. And he told me, get out of here. You're freaking out my crew. And I did. Thank God I did. And I walked around the block. And when I walked around the block, because I was saying, no, put the camera here. And he said, no, put the camera there. He said, okay. He said to me, yes, okay, we'll do it your way. We're putting the camera where Larry said, okay, now get out of here because you're freaking out the crew, because I was yelling. So I said, okay. So I got out. He said, walk around the block. So I walked around the block, and when I came back, they had set it up his way. And then he said, we don't have time to take it down. We're gaining the light. The shot was inside an interior of a real diner. And the front window, the sun was going to come in the front window, and we didn't have any way to block it. So it was a fait accompli, and he knew it. And I said, okay, because there was no way. There was no other choice. But years later, every time I watch it, thank God, it's a great shot. So we did that, and it got a nomination. And I fought it all the way to the nomination. Fought it all the way. Again, not knowing where I am at the time, thinking, bringing old rules to this new game, and I was not staying in the same game. At least, you stay in the same game, you learn the rules, you can pass it on. I had nothing to pass on, because it's all learning. So, as I say, a blessing and a curse. The order would be, I was homeless, so that, and then I could base Sometimes Jones, the writing of it. Where did I write that? I wrote that in the committee. So it was homeless. Okay. It was being homeless, and while I was homeless, and then afterwards, and being in the committee, I wrote the Sometimes Jones fables, pretty much all of them. Then I moved to L.A., lived in Hollywood, and Sully's Diner. I was eating there, and I was the only customer a lot of the time. So when Anna said, make the movie, I said, we're going to make it here. And I knew he was starving, so I could, give him, I think, $350 to shoot there. I think $350 for 3 days, I think, is what he wanted. And we had to shoot a fourth day. Pickup shots. Always remember pickup shots. Another thing I learned. And Harry said you can't do that, and I said you can do that, and we fought about that, and we made that. So, but Sometimes Jones and the Diner is based on the stories I wrote while I was in the committee after I was homeless. So that's the theme of that.
Did I read that you're trying to put together a book? Does that include some of the Sometimes Jones stories?
Yeah, so the 8 fables are now in the book. And the book is called The Loopholes Dossier, and it's a political satire. But it's also a satire of biographies. It's a biography in the future, not very far in the future, a couple of years. But it's a biography of a future ex-president. And it's a biography of just politics. And one guy in particular named Louis B. Loopholes. And it's a dossier. It's a dossier from the CIA and the FBI. I got these papers, and I lay out his total, from the time he entered politics. He wasn't always in politics. The time he entered politics till the time he became president, and then he was impeached. And then from this rubble, he rose again to something else. So it's powerful. So that, and then there's the oral history of an old-time homeless man who is based on the year that I was homeless in San Francisco. But it's written from my perspective now of knowing, that's what was going on back then. So I bring a little knowledge to it, what was going on. And it was a weird time. Anyway, his name is Barnum Justice is the hero of that. And he's a homeless guy. So I told you at the beginning of this that I had news, that, fresh breaking news. So the fresh breaking news is, so I pitched some TV people, and what I just told you just now, they kind of are interested in, so we're going to continue. My phone is, wow, it's perfect. Yeah, we're running, my phone is going to run down. We're running out of battery here.
Well, Mr. Hankin, thank you so much for your time. This was great.
Oh, thank you, man. This stuff is kind of cool. I never spoke about this stuff. That's all great. Great shit. I don't know, But anyway, it's great. No kidding. It's going to go black now. So thank you, Mike. Really, it was great. Thank you very much.